So the last thing to talk about in 5.1 is measurement numbers. And the thing with measurement numbers what we're going to be looking at is this idea that a lot of numbers, if you look at rulers in, say, a shop, you're not going to see it in sort of a decimal form. You're going to see a lot of rulers in terms of 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, 32nds of an inch, and 64ths of an inch. So you'll get this kind of thing. So if we have numbers that are actually decimal numbers, how do we convert them into 1/8 of an inch, 16ths, 32nds, and 64ths? And there's a little procedure you can use to do that. So first, we're going to multiply by 1. And we can represent 1 as, say, 8/8 for 1/8 of an inch. We can represent 1 as 16/16 or 1/16 of an inch. We can represent 1 as 32nd or 32 or 32 for 32nds of an inch. And then we can represent it as 64/64 or 64ths of an inch. So we're going to multiply it by 1 like this. And then 2, we're going to round the numerator to the nearest fraction of an inch. Finally, we're going to compute an error. And this is the difference between rounded and the unrounded versions. So first off, let's say we're going to convert 3 69/100 to 1/16 of an inch. So what we'll do, 3 69/100, we'll multiply by 1. And since we're going to convert this 1/16 of an inch, we want to make this one 16/16. Now, something to keep in mind, when we multiply by fractions, always put an invisible 1 here. So we're going to multiply across. And that's going to give us .59 400 of an inch. And we're going to round this to the nearest fraction of an inch or 100th of an inch. We're going to round that to 59. Well, now what we're going to do, let's put this into a mixed number. So we'll take our 16, divide into 59, at most 3 times, 48, we get 11. So this will be 3 and 11/16 of an inch. Now we want to compute the error. And the error is going to be the difference between the non-rounded version and the rounded version. So for the error, we're going to compute this where we subtract the smaller number from the larger one. In this case, the smaller number is the rounded version. So you have 59.04 minus 59 all over 16. Or maybe I'm skipping a step here. We can do it this way. And this will come out to about 0.0025 inches. Double check that. Right on the money. So that is going to be our error. So let me do another one. So what we're going to do is convert this to 64ths. We'll multiply by 1. And then we'll choose one to be, in this case, 64 over 64. I'm going to skip a step here just for the sake of time, but we can multiply across. And so that's going to give us 15/400ths over 64. And rounding to the nearest 64th of an inch, will be 15 over 64 inches. And that's just going to be our answer. Now for the error, a little shortcut for the error here. We'll take the difference of the numerators, subtracting the smallest from the largest. And this is going to come out to a very small error. And that's going to be our answer. And let me do one more. Now again, with this one, we subtracted the rounded version from the version that was unrounded. So let's say we have this. Let's convert this to 30/2 of an inch. So again, multiply by 1. 0 in there. We'll multiply across. And this one, if we round to the nearest 32nd of an inch, this is going to round up to 15. And so this is going to be our answer. 15 over 32 inches. So for error, in this case, the rounded version is larger than the non-rounded version. So have 15 minus 14, 784 thousandths. And that will give us 216 thousandths over 32. And that's going to be our answer. Now, I do want to mention what this means. You'll see this in shots and 8, 16, 32nd, 64ths of an inch. What's going on here is you're taking an inch and you're, instead of using the typical decimal version, well, instead of seeing an inch divided up into, say, 10 or 100 smaller parts, say this is our 1 inch. We might take an inch and divide it into 8s. Now clearly this is bigger than a regular inch, but when we don't have whole inches, what we might say here is this amount. So say we measure something and it measures from here to here. If this represents an inch, then this would be 3/8 of an inch. So likewise, if you had this inch divided into 16ths, and again, let's say this whole thing is 1 inch. We have something that measures 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we measure something, and this thing is not quite from here to here. It's not quite a whole inch, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 of these little subdivisions. That's how long this thing is. And then we'll say this is 15/16 of an inch. But that's the idea. And you can do the same thing for 32nds of an inch. Divide an inch into 32 little units or 64 units. And you can make even more finer measurements. We're going to get into this thing of finer measurements more. And we're going to be looking at it particularly for incredibly small. We're going to have to use some micrometers is what we're going to be getting into. But that's going to be it. And if any questions, let me know.